Have the Trump administration's actions made campus more safe or less safe for students who are victims of anti-Semitism?
Based on everything I'm hearing from Jewish students, including the one whom I just mentioned, it's making campuses less safe.
And I have said before that if the majority wanted to fight anti-Semitism and protect Jewish students, they should condemn anti-Semitism in their own party and at the highest level of government. They have failed to do so. Multiple White House officials have ties to anti-Semitic extremists. This includes the current liaison to the Department of Homeland Security, the communications director for the Office of Management and Budget, and the press secretary of the Department of Defense, who posted Nazi slogans on her personal social media accounts and promoted the anti-Semitic Great Replacement conspiracy theory. The leader of President Trump's so-called anti-Semitism task force actually talked about revoking Jew cards and shared a post on social media from the former leader of a white supremacist organization that called for the, quote, Nazification of America. Donald Trump has continued to spout anti-Semitic venom, most recently at a rally where he said, no going to the banks and borrowing from, in some cases, a fine banker and in some cases, Shylocks and bad people. He tried to walk back those statements, saying incredulously that he had never heard the term Shylock used in an anti-Semitic way. Words matter, and the President of the United States should not be using words, especially anti-Semitic tropes, if he does not know what they mean. Have any Republican colleagues here today condemned these acts of anti-Semitism from the President and members of the administration, or called for removal of these individuals from office? No, because that would require real and meaningful commitment to rooting out anti-Semitism from the top down.
Have the Trump administration's actions made campus more safe or less safe for students who are victims of anti-Semitism?
Based on everything I'm hearing from Jewish students, including the one whom I just mentioned, it's making campuses less safe.
Dr. Groves, does Georgetown employ any anti-Semitic faculty members or fellows?
We have faculty that have the range of opinions on every issue facing humankind. We police carefully the behavior of our faculty in the classroom and their research activities. They are free, as all residents of the United States, to have speech in the public domain.
But I'm concerned about what I see happening here. Because instead of solving a problem, we're watching some try to use anti-Semitism as a reason to go after higher education. I've heard it in this committee that DEI is to blame, that foreign scholars are a threat, that faculty ought to be punished for their views. But I'll tell you, we don't need political scorecards. We need real solutions, and that means following the law.
You are aware at Baruch, Jewish freshmen were welcomed with heinous anti-Semitic taunts about the hostages killed by Hamas. Quote, "Where's Hirsch, you ugly expletive, expletive? Go bring them home," end quote. Quote, "You ain't going home tonight. Go back to Brooklyn. All Zionists are terrorists," end quote. Are you aware of those anti-Semitic harassment slurs?
Those are deplorable statements, and if they were associated with the event at Baruch, an investigation was done and students were disciplined.
And students were disciplined in both of those cases? At Hunter, Jewish students were forced to enter the main university building under a swastika for hours. Is that correct?
My understanding of that is that the swastika was placed outside, and we have a custom of erasing all such deplorable symbols. In that particular case, there was a delay because it had to be referred to the NYPD for the anti-hate investigation.
Let me remind you of this particular case, because that's not according to your own staff. In fact, the Hunter College Director of Jewish Studies emailed university leadership requesting that the swastika be taken down. And instead, this was the response for everyone to see. Apologies, but it is not that simple. Is that the position of CUNY?
It is entirely unacceptable that.
And was this administrator disciplined who emailed?
Again, in that particular case, we were working with the
No,
New York City Police
was this
Department.
administrator disciplined for sending this response?
We any case that we have, we'll investigate, and the appropriate action will be taken.
So what was the appropriate action taken against this administrator in this case?
In this case, as I mentioned to you, we are working with the New York City Police Department.
So no disciplinary action has been taken by CUNY? Is that
Again,
correct?
we will investigate any action.
So an investigation, but no actual action, like so many of these failed university presidents. So is it okay, from your perspective, obviously it is, to have a former employee of CARE? Let me remind you, CARE was a co-conspirator in a terrorist financing case and has ties to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Is she currently still employed by CUNY?
She is.
There you go. So no action, just words here today. Even further, and by the way, her salary is paid for by the New York taxpayers, correct?
We have the expectations of total professionalism and compliance with all the rules and policies of CUNY. Any employee that breaks our policies or our rules will be investigated.
But it obviously
Action
doesn't
will be
break
taken.
CUNY's rules to have a senior employee who was previously employed by a terrorist-affiliated organization. That is unacceptable to New York taxpayers. It is unacceptable to American taxpayers. But it's not just that. Are you familiar with CUNY Clear? This is the clinical arm of CUNY School of Law.
CUNY Clear, I'm not familiar with them.
Well, I will remind you, the CUNY Clear founder and professor is the head of Mahmoud Khalil's Legal Defense Fund. Are you aware of that?
No.
Does it concern you that New York taxpayers are paying the salary for the legal defense fund of Mahmoud Khalil? And I'll remind you who Mahmoud Khalil is. This is the chief pro-Hamas agitator that led to the anti-Semitic encampments at Columbia, the rioting and violent takeover of Hamilton Hall, the harassment and physical assault of Jewish students.
And we do not condone any kind of anti-Semitism.
But you
in our
allow
campuses.
the head of the clinical legal organization and a professor to be the chief legal aide to Mahmoud Khalil and do his legal defense fund.
Those decisions are made in the clinics, are made in the individual campuses.
It goes up to you. You are the chancellor.
Those decisions are made at
So you
the
take no
individual
responsibility.
campuses. I take responsibility for any behavior of our faculty.
So
and
is this
staff that
acceptable? Is this
anti-Semitic.
acceptable?
Any behavior that is anti-Semitic
Is
and
this
is in
acceptable
violation of our
that the
rules.
legal defense fund for Mahmoud Khalil is the head of CUNY Clear? That's acceptable under your watch.
We do have no tolerance for anti-Semitism on our campuses, and we've been very
So will
clear.
this person be fired?
Anybody that breaks our rules and our policies, there'll be an investigation. We'll investigate, and if there's any disciplinary action to be taken, we'll take it.
Let me make a prediction. No disciplinary action. This individual is not going to be fired because it's all words, no action.
I've indicated before that I have a Jewish Advisory Life Committee that has been both a resource to us of listening to what the community thinks, we should be doing, but also as a way for us to convey some of the work that we have been doing in this arena. And we remain committed to this work with many of our Jewish stakeholder partners.
Suspend the lady.
The chair of your political science department said he supports, quote, resistance by any means necessary, which includes violence. How can you say those statements that you support your Jewish friends? Shut up and get out of here.
Gentleman will suspend. Gentleman will suspend.
Get out of here, you loser. Come on. By the way, to be clear, I hold you all responsible for this. It is the attitude that you have allowed on your college campuses that make people think that this is okay. That is why this happens, because you have someone like Emmanuel Ness that says resistance by any means necessary, and I assume this person still works at your school. Is that correct?
Microphone, please.
Any call for violence against Jewish members of our community is entirely unacceptable.
So why does this person still work there?
Any individual or faculty that has a complaint of breaking our rules, we will investigate them and take the appropriate disciplinary action if warranted.
And I'm going to end with this. I have a 17-year-old who will be applying to school next year. He's in Washington interning right now. And how in good conscience could you tell my son, who is Jewish, who's the reason I wear this kippah, how could you tell my son in good conscience that he would be safe at any of your schools? I'll give each of you, 20 seconds to try to answer that question.
I would deeply hope he would feel safe, and there's a reason for this at Georgetown. If Jewish students don't feel safe, if they have fear, if it's not just hurtful to them, it destroys our mission of interfaith dialogue. And
they don't feel safe right now. Your turn.
I have spoken to many students. We have recruited actively in the Jewish community at CUNY. I've actually begun a program of extending a program that we have with recruiting in the high schools to the yeshivas, which is College Now. And again, we have listened. I have met with the students, gone to Hillel, listened to their concerns, and I've told them that we need to do better. We have made the changes, and we're showing the results